Where are you headed, Pam?
Well, I was coming to your guys' office, but you're not really. Should I? What did your thing say? Something about the owl?
Yeah, the L is not the greatest. We should probably upgrade to one of the newer ones.
An owl with better eyes.
No,
I was just in the car. Should I come to your guys' office or go to my office?
no, good. No, go ahead and go to your assessment.
Oh, go to mine. Okay, because I'm like right in between both. So I was like, I can go either place you want me. If you guys aren't all meeting in your conference room, I'll go back to my office, I guess.
No, we will be in our individual offices. And we got a few people, well, most everybody's working from home today, so.
How did the rest of your evening go?
Fine. Nothing eventful. Got some things,
Yeah, I spent all night on the phone. Oh, and started getting texts from Liz and B.
Oh,
I hear you're upset. What's up? And I said, well, I came prepared to outline the list of concerns that I've gotten from multiple stakeholders. And then you started out with its consensus. And so then I didn't know. I just made it. And then I just said to her, well, then I felt bad because
Pam,
I was like,
Pam, sorry,
yeah.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second while I try and do something here. Do we know who the host is?
I think so.
Sure if it's
Zerai probably has the power, yeah.
Yeah, can you
just
just stop
change that.
recording until we have a quorum?
Yes.
Oh,
I apologize. I am finishing up some drug court things. I should pay attention. I am done now.
Do you want to?
Sorry.
You're welcome to share host too if you want, and I can.
It is recording, so we're.
All right, I'll do that. Well, do I need to do that again? I should, right? All right. Welcome to the IDC Commission meeting for November 20th. My name is John Quorum. I'm the Commission Chair. And then may we quickly do introductions in whatever order you please.
Hey, Wally Bugden. I'm a defense attorney.
And I'm Kendall Thomas from Tooele County Council.
Margaret Lindsay, Utah County Public Defender Association, I'm the Child Welfare Representative.
Paul Dodd.
Oh. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. I'm Paul Dodd. I am with West Jordan City. I am also through the Utah Leagues of Cities and Towns.
And I'm Aaron McKnight. I work for Orem City.
I'm Michael Drexel from the Administrative Office of the Courts.
I'm Rich Morrow, Salt Lake Legal Defender Association.
well, I really already introduced myself in the beginning. I'm Pam. I'm a delinquency representative.
And then we can do staff now. I think that covers all the commissioners. I'm Matt Barraza. I'm the Executive Director of the IDC.
I'm Adam Troop. I'm the Assistant Director of the IDC.
Leslie Howitt, Data Analyst for the IDC.
Sorry, Gatmeyer, Managing and Training Attorney here at IDC.
Katrina Adair, Grant Program Manager at IDC.
I am Lancaster, Capital Mitigation and Forensic Social Work, the IDC.
And I am Joshua Buhay. I'm the Financial Analyst for the IDC.
I think that was all of us. And please excuse Commissioner Kamalu. She is at the Utah Association of Counties annual conference. She gave us a heads up that she may not be able to make it today. So has anyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from October 14th?
John, I reviewed them.
Perfect.
To me, they look accurate. There is there's a couple typos, but nothing significant. So I would move that we approve the minutes
A second.
of the last meeting.
I would second
All right.
the approval.
So, all approved.
Aye.
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 Yeah.
Aye.
All right. I probably should ask if anyone does not approve. That might be easier. And I'm assuming no one does not approve. Wonderful. Minutes have been approved then. Maybe turn the time over to Matt for the Managing Defenders updates.
Yes, thank you, Chair Quorum. We have some updates on our managing defender positions, and these next two agenda items are very much connected. So with your permission, Chair Quorum, I'll kind of address those both together. But the main piece of news is that Johanna Williams, who is the managing defender for the 6th District, Sevier, St. Pete, and Wayne, has accepted a position with the Guardian Ad Litem's office. And so she will be leaving that position. And so we wish her all the best. She's been doing that, carrying on those duties and carrying a child welfare and juvenile court caseload for many years now, and certainly has had a big impact on that area of the state. So we will be circulating a letter of appreciation amongst the commissioners there and sending that to her. But with that, that does give us an opportunity to take a look at the way things are going there, and we have some proposed modifications there that we think will help improve the delivery of services there in that region. So I'll just share some slides here. Okay, so the first item that we're proposing, it has to do with the delinquency contracts in the 6th District. Johanna carried, as I mentioned, in addition to her managing defender duties, she had a caseload, and with that vacancy, that gives us an opportunity to implement some of the recommendations that were proposed in the GALT assessment. For those who might not be familiar, the GALT assessment that was done took a look at delinquency throughout the state and took a look at what was working, what wasn't working, and ways to improve. One of the recommendations from that report was that whenever possible, we should encourage and facilitate specialization and regionalization of contracts that handle delinquency cases. That would increase the amount of expertise amongst the practitioners who are handling those cases and improve the quality of the representation that was being provided there. So here's the current grant landscape in the 6th District as it pertains to delinquency. To their credit, and to our credit, to brag a little bit, we have encouraged specialization in that area already. So most of the contracts in that region are specialized between child welfare and juvenile delinquency. So in St. Pete, there is a grant-funded position right now handling delinquency that's at 45 or just over $40,000 in St. Pete County and that's grant funded through the IDC. In Sevier County itself, there are two positions. One is grant funded, the other is county funded, and handling delinquency cases. Wayne has a very it is not specialized actually in Wayne. That is Wayne and Kane are both combined. However, the amount in Wayne, and I might have these mixed up actually. There's probably about 20,000 in Kane. Leslie, I'm gonna Wayne and Kane rhyme, and that is hurting my head a little bit. I'm having a hard time keeping them straight. One of them has 0 delinquency cases right now, and so it hasn't been separated. The other one has about 38 delinquency cases and has a grant that's combined with the other caseloads there. The delinquency portion represents about 20,000. So I believe I have that right there.
You have it correct. Wayne has had 0 cases in the last year.
Good. All right. Well, thanks for backing me up on that. So while there is a good amount of specialization there is not any regionalization going on. And so we have multiple smaller contracts, and then that has resulted in different individuals carrying each different contract and then carrying either private caseload or adult cases in the mix there. And so there's not that true specialization that we're hoping to achieve. Taking all of those caseloads together, that amounts to about 150 episodes per year. So it's probably around a 3/4 time calendar if you were to pool those together. Leslie has done a lot of work taking a look at this and looking at the different court calendars to see if a single person could actually logistically manage having this be a combined caseload. And it does work out. It's all the same couple of judges, and they rotate their calendars according to which county they're appearing in. And so it would be very, very easy for one individual to carry a combined contract and handle those delinquency cases throughout the year. So what we are proposing with this delinquency project is that we modify the current grants that are in place so that we can combine those and reorganize those into one true regional contract with delinquency cases. There would be enough funding available as well with the money that's currently in place. We would be able to do this without any change in funding overall. It would just be using existing grant and county funding, and there would be enough funding there to provide for a conflict contract as well to handle any conflicts that pop up in this project. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. Might lean on Leslie for some data questions if those pop up as well.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
I might have misunderstood. I thought on the other chart it said that Sevier had 2 contracts, one of which was paid for with IDC funds and one that wasn't.
Right.
If we modify this into a single contract, are we collapsing multiple attorneys worth of work into a single contract? I guess I'm not understanding the alignment of the current landscape.
Yeah, and that the Sevier situation where there were 2 contracts, both of those were a little bit mixed where they had some. They were not purely specialized. So there was some child welfare, there was some delinquency. So they were.
Okay, I misunderstood.
No, that's a good catch. There was some nuance to those ones in particular.
So the portion of all of these contracts that currently exist that could be dedicated to juvenile delinquency across the 3 counties is enough for a single contract if that's all the person did?
Yeah, it would be probably about 3/4 time. So there would probably
3/4. Okay.
If somebody wanted to, have a 3/4 type job and call it good, then they'd be able to do that. But if somebody wanted to have a full-time type income, then they would have the time to be able to carry additional cases, private cases, or whatever they would choose. This would be, a contracted position. We would put it out for an RFQ and then see who's interested in picking that up. There are a few of contracts that are not mentioned in this project that Johanna was carrying. She was doing some recovery court and some other conflict contracts, and I'm hopeful that so we currently have two current contract holders, one in San Pete and one in Sevier, who could potentially be affected by this. They're both out of Utah County, and they handle these out of their own county, mostly virtually. But I'm hopeful that if one of them ends up wanting to apply for this contract, that the other contracts that are still unfilled, like the Family Recovery Court and such, that could be something that the other attorney may be interested in taking over, so that there's not a huge disruption in anybody's current situation. If that makes sense, I hope I explained that adequately. But we're trying to be sensitive to, the people who are currently doing the work and are there, and making sure that this is that there's minimal disruption to their quality of life, their income, and et cetera.
Hey, Matt, is this budget neutral?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
There's about 150.
Episodes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I was just doing a quick survey of where I'm at with my delinquency attorneys through October. And my full-time attorneys on average are about 150 through October.
Okay. So that aligns pretty
Yeah,
close.
pretty well.
Good. And we did Leslie did take a look at the types of cases that are being petitioned in those different counties, and there's some interesting differences from one county to the next. I believe it was Sevier had probably the most serious types of cases that were being petitioned, and then with the other, San Pete was kind of moderate, and then the others were more minor type infractions, and probably some that may not have been. It would be good to have an expert juvenile court delinquency attorney there. I think that there's a lot of good work that can be done through this project.
So Matt, I think what you meant to say is that the most severe cases are in.
Yes, that was a missed opportunity. Thanks, Dan.
Here all day, folks.
Matt, I know I heard you say that at least one of the current contractors is from Utah County, and I believe I know who that is. Is the other one as well?
Yeah, they're both. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I know I've got some new contract needs, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be able to fill that void there. Well, if there are no other questions, I think we would be ready to take a motion on that if anyone's interested in doing that.
I'll move to modify the juvenile delinquency grants in San Pete, Sevier, and Wayne counties to create a single contract.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And anyone not in favor? All right, it was unanimous, as far as I can tell. Paul, were you going to say something? I saw you unmute and mute.
I just did that to vote. That was it.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
just, yeah.
All right. Perfect. I think it is unanimous.
All right. So moving on to the next topic, again related to Johanna's departure, and that is that we have some managing defender duties that need to be filled. And what we are looking at here is to further regionalize the managing defender position there in southern Utah. So just as a reminder, with our strategic plan that the commission adopted back in 2023, one of the priorities was to work towards making full-time managing defender positions. So having a minimal caseload so that they could really drive down into the managing aspect and also the advocacy aspect with the counties that they work with. The current vacancies now, with as far as managing defender goes, is St. Pete, Sevier, and Wayne. Those were managed by Johanna. And then also Grand, we currently don't have a managing defender there. And Zariah has been valiantly assisting Grand County with their management duties for the past couple months. As far as the funding goes, we have approximately $80,000 in grant funding in place in St. Pete, Sevier, and Wayne. And then with Grand County, there's a $50,000 grant that's currently in place. And so what we are proposing here is similar, but on a broader scale, is to combine those three counties. The way that the current grant is situated in 6th District, it's actually mostly centralized in Sevier County, and then there's an MOU with Sevier and Wayne for Sevier to provide those managing defender duties. What we would be envisioning here is that there would be a grant modification so that those funds are pulled back to the IDC, and then we would put out an RFQ for a regional managing defender for that area, in the hopes that one of the other managing defenders in the area would be able to pick that up and reduce their caseload accordingly. Then they would be able to manage almost all of the southern Utah counties that we have contracts with.
Matt, I guess I'm a little unclear. Are you looking or thinking about combining the two vacancies into one? Are you planning to try and keep them separate?
No, we would be combining those into one. And our hope is that one of the current managing defenders in the region would be applying for that RFQ. So then it would be combining, potentially having a total of 7 different counties being supervised by a managing defender.
That makes sense. It's a lot of ground
to
cover, but that's Utah.
Right. And and again, we're hoping to have somebody who's already there in the region so that they have a presence there. I know that most of the counties there would prefer that than having somebody, parachuting in from Salt Lake, although Grand has been very appreciative of us doing just that, with Zariah doing some of the all of the managing there for the past couple months. But there is a lot of ground to cover, having somebody local there so that they can have in-person interaction with the different county commissions and with the attorneys and clients there. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Matt, how many attorneys would potentially or would be supervised then by a single manager?
Yeah, there's probably I remember we had looked at the actual number of full-time equivalents. So there's probably around 7 to 11 full-time equivalent positions or caseloads being handled in that region. There are, however, those are split up into separate, part-time caseloads. So there are some, there would be probably under 20, I think, is the number of contracts that they would be looking at. This consolidation that we are just proposing with the juvenile court, that would help shrink those numbers. So I think that would probably be, one of the difficulties or challenges in this scenario is the number of attorneys being contracted. But if this person is working close to full time, then I think that is, something that they would have the capacity to do.
Margaret and Rich, what do you guys think about the ability of one person to manage that many full-time attorneys, full and part-time attorneys across all those different counties? What do you think, Margaret?
Well, I'm just trying, to compare it to what, my duties are. And, luckily, technology really helps shrink some of the boundaries at different times. I think it definitely would be, it easily a full-time job. But I look at just in-house on my juvenile division, I've got 10 basically attorneys, 2 social workers, and plus all the contract attorneys in Utah, Wasatch, Juab, and Millard. So I think with it's a lot, but I think the right person could do it.
Well, and just for some comparison to some context, in Davis County, they have probably a similar number of contract attorneys there, and so Todd Utzinger does a really good job managing that many attorneys. He's doing it full time as well. So I think if someone's working full time, then that's definitely doable, and especially if they're there in the region and already have relationships with a lot of the defenders there, then that will facilitate it as well. There's not going to be a whole lot of building relationships because those are already established.
Matt, are we talking about 130 as like the total compensation package, or are we?
No, that's just
salary, or
that's how much is there represented in those 4 counties where we have vacancies. So that would be for that piece of it. So if somebody were to pick up and already has some managing defender contracts there, then that would be added to their compensation.
So Wally, in answer to your question, yeah, it's probably doable. I think the thing you need to have in place is the structural component of how you're going to evaluate performance. And I think that has to be structurally, that has to be written out. And I think it has to really be, you have to provide a degree of fidelity as to how you're going to do that. And you have to be consistent from month to month or quarter to quarter, however it is that you're going to really benchmark your measurement. I think it's doable. That's a big geographic area. And so that's a bit of a challenge, because I think if you want to have a managing defender that's managing multiple counties, I think there has to be a commitment to ensuring that you're traveling from place to place. And again, that's a structural component I think that you need to have. And I think you need to have, there's a lot of tools that are available online right now, especially for understanding the best way to put together a program for measuring performance. And I think it's doable. But I do have a question, Matt. What happened with Graham County? Wasn't Christine Rogers the managing defender down there?
Yeah, Chris Rogers was there, and she did a lot of fantastic work. We were really happy with what she was doing. Her contract expired, and the county declined to renew it. I think there were some interpersonal conflicts there with the county. So that's been vacant. We've been picking up the slack there for a couple months now.
So I guess I have a follow-up question. I'm a little concerned that if the interpersonal conflict was, I don't like the way this person's representing clients. That's strikes me as being a little bit problematic in terms of, and whether or not we have a role to play with that. And I don't know any of the details because I didn't know she wasn't in that position anymore, but it raises a broader question about, our role vis-a-vis managing defenders. And I know we dealt with some of this a little bit when we were talking about Utah County, when they were going through some of the things that were happening. But I mean, do you have a sense that the commission or whoever was making that decision was, I mean, because if they're making decisions based on representation choices, that causes me a great deal of concern, because that has a chilling effect and a chilling impact on the work that we all do. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'd be curious to know if you have any other information about that.
I have, so Chris and I were very much in touch during the whole process, and I communicated a lot with the county manager there too during this whole process. I think I need to be a little bit careful about what I say, because there is an active lawsuit. There's a federal lawsuit that was filed that Chris is a party to, along with many other, well, not, with a few other former county employees. So that's currently being litigated. The impression, though, that I get was that this was more personality based and not case based. I'm unaware of any, Chris was very good in that she was second chairing on a lot of first degree felonies and was being very active in the courtroom. But I'm unaware of any of this being case specific. There were some complaints about some of the line managing attorneys, but that was more based around them being unavailable for client calls or missing court or things like that. So nothing, I personally never heard any kind of indication that this was because there was being overzealous in their representation of their clients.
Well, did Grand County ever offer an explanation for why they didn't care to renew the contract?
They didn't offer anything formal. It was basically your contract is expiring and we're declining to renew it.
Do you think that's something that we need to get involved in terms of either further investigation or a better explanation? I mean, it causes some concern, especially if there's a lawsuit that is alleging some sort of degree. I'm assuming, and I don't know, I haven't seen the lawsuit, but I'm assuming that the gravamen of the complaint is that there's been some misconduct on the part of Grand County. And I'm wondering if we have any kind of continuing obligation to really try to to either be supportive or not supportive. And I don't know which way that lies, but I have some concerns when we're told that a managing defender has been essentially terminated, or at least the contract hasn't been renewed, and then there's a resulting lawsuit, and it causes some degree of concern. And if there's something we can do to help in that process, I think many on this board, I think if there was some impropriety in the part of Grant County, certainly would want to know that.
Matt,
do you have an ask for us on this one? Is there a thing you're wanting from the commissioners?
Yes, and so the proposal would have on this is for that consolidation project to be able to modify the existing grants there so that we can have a regional position, a regional managing position, and there would be enough funding in place for us to modify there are a couple of administrative positions that are part-time as well. And so with this being as big of an area and as many counties to keep track of, we would want to consolidate those as well in order to have a full-time admin support to help assist the managing defender.
Is there a motion to modify the San Pete, Sevier, Wayne, and Grand County grants to create a regional MD and admin support?
I'd make the
Before
motion.
somebody makes a motion, oh, go ahead.
I'd make the motion
ahead,
that we
Wally.
modify the existing grants and combine them so that San Pete, Sevier, Wayne, and Grand would be have one managing director.
Is there a second?
I might be willing to second it, but maybe I'd like some clarification on the scope of what the impacts of the motion would be before I do. Chair, could I ask a question of staff?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir. If we combine this into a single region, what it does is it creates 3 contiguous counties and then kind of has to leap over Carbon and Emery to grab Grand County as a region. And that makes a lot of sense if one of the managing defenders that's already operating, who's operating in Carbon and Emery? Is it a single managing defender? It is, isn't it?
We have a single managing defender in Carbon. However, Emery is not part of our network. They're not a
Okay.
grant, so that's why there's that empty space there.
That gets me to part of the concern I had. Okay, that's helpful. If the person who were, say, in Carbon or some other person said, well, it would make sense for me to be managing defender in Grand, but I don't want to take on San Pete and Sevier and Wayne. Have we done ourselves a disservice in the way that it's structured, trying to find somebody for Grand because we put them all together into a single region? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah. And so I think it's fine for me to say we have been talking specifically about this with Candace in Iron County. So she's currently the managing defender for Iron, Beaver, and Kane County. And so she's expressed interest in taking this over and extending that. So of course, we'll open it up for a solicitation, and we'll honestly consider anybody who meets the qualifications to apply. But that being said, I mean, if she were to be the top candidate, she's already expressed her willingness to handle the project as described.
May I ask a kind of a follow-up to that? How long has Zariah essentially been acting as the managing defender for Grand? And in the meantime, have efforts been made to locate a new managing defender solely for Grand, and it's just proven unfruitful?
Yeah. So Zariah's been handling those since probably mid-September. Is that right, Zariah? Maybe October.
It was earlier, it was September. We knew a little bit more about it in July. So since then.
And I don't know that they've made any efforts to find a new managing defender. I know that there's been there is some local attorneys who do some work there as far as in the juvenile court arena, but any of the adult court contracts going back several years, those have all been people coming in from other counties to handle those. And they tried to hire a managing defender before Chris was in place and struggled to do that for a couple of years before they were able to connect with Chris.
Can I follow up on that a little bit too? I wonder then, does this put us in a unique situation in Utah where there might be a county that we haven't been able to secure a managing defender, but had one at one point. And now we go soliciting for a managing defender who would come in and supervise and manage attorneys that have contracts in a county that doesn't necessarily want that management to be happening because they haven't kind of bought in or worked to replace what they had already had in the past. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Are we getting out in front of local county leadership on decision making about who's managing the attorneys that have contracts within their jurisdiction? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
I think so. As far as
it seems like we've always had buy-in at a
participating.
county by county level of having somebody serve in this role.
Yeah.
And maybe we would here as well. I don't know. I'm just wondering, would we be foisting upon Grand County and the attorneys working in Grand County a managing defender that all of them are like, we don't want, we don't need?
Right. Well, I think Grand County in particular has been very appreciative and eager to have someone handling those duties. And I know that some of the other counties, it's a county by county perspective, right? There are some counties who would be more than happy to have us handle those tasks for them. There are others who don't want any kind of state involvement in any form, right? We've done outreach
right.
to counties saying, hey, we've got these services, we've got this language line, we've got these other things that don't involve, even applying for a grant, and they will say, thanks, but no thanks, we're good. So
right.
it really is just kind of a different response from each individual county. So I think that this project, at least for the counties that we have in place and that where we don't have a managing defender in place right now, I think this is a really good solution, and I'm really optimistic for this improving the quality of the management in those areas.
Matt, can I add something
Yeah.
of background?
Yeah.
We did do a site visit recently, and we're able to meet with the commissioners. And with the experience of that meeting, as well as the last couple of months of me engaging with the commission and doing the managing defender duties, my impression is that they do want a managing defender. They want more support in the criminal defense and the juvenile court realms. And so without getting into any of the issues that the former managing defender had with the commission, I do think that they are taking the Indigent Defense Commission's advice that they do want a managing defender, and they want to get this all squared away as soon as possible. So things are flowing better in their county.
That's helpful to me. Chair Quorum, can I ask one other question?
Yes, please.
So what I'm hearing then is that if this motion were made and seconded and voted upon and approved by the commission, that there's nothing to any of our knowledge or staff's knowledge that anyone in Sanpete, Sevier, Wayne, or Grand County would say, golly, we wish you hadn't passed that motion. Is that fair to say? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, and yeah, I have no, and we've talked to Johanna about this as well, and she hasn't expressed any kind of reservations about this plan. This would be the first step, and the next step would be to do outreach with those counties, to present it to them and to see what their concerns might be. If there is one or more counties that say, no, we don't want to do this, then we bring it back to the commission. I mean, this is not something that we can force upon anybody saying like, this will be your managing defender and you're going to like it. Like that's not the way that we like to interact with our partners. Right. And so that's not something that we would do. And again, if we came into any roadblocks down the road, we would come back to the commission and discuss it.
So
Yeah.
Matt, I guess a follow-up question to what Michael just asked. So are these counties all in agreement that the IDC could pick a managing defender that they would then install in this position, and or do you not know if they're? I'm a little unclear about that. I mean, if the counties all said, yeah, this is a good idea, this is what we want to do, we trust the IDC to pick the right person, because I'm a little concerned that if one of these counties, and you know, Adam and I had a similar experience out in Duchesne one day when we went out there to meet with folks who said, yeah, we're all on board with kind of doing this plan and involving you in a county. And then when it came time for us to implement the plan, Duchesne County said, well, we just don't want to do that. Do we know if these counties are all on board to say, yeah, we're going to accept a motion and we're going to accept their choice or nominee for managing defender for these 4 counties, and we will be copacetic with it and we will comply with what the IDC and the managing defender wants us to do? Do we know if that's the case?
We don't, and that's why I say, Rich, when I was responding to Commissioner Drexel, you know, this is the first step. We wanted to talk with the commission about this and make sure that the commission was in agreement, and then from there, then we will immediately pivot to the counties and start making outreach there. And again, if there is any you know, strong objection from the county, or if the counties object to this plan, then we would keep things as the status quo, and we would pivot and try and keep work with those counties to find a managing defender. I'm thinking, though, just kind of getting to the specifics of the sixth district in particular, we did make a modification just a couple of years ago where we moved San Pete from the outer county area into under Johanna, because we saw that she only had 2 counties that she was supervising. That seemed to work really smoothly. We didn't hear any kind of objections there. So I think that for San Pete, at least, I don't anticipate any problems there. Again, we had a conversation with Johanna about this, and she didn't express any reservations or any thoughts that Sevier County would object to it as well. Of course, that's through her, but she has worked with those commissioners for several years now and didn't indicate any potential objections from them.
Matt, could we maybe classify this motion as a permissive motion?
Oh,
That
yeah,
would
sure.
satisfy, like, this is
Yeah.
an either or?
Right. Yeah.
Well, actually, I have an alternative motion that might get us to where we need to be. I would move that we authorize the IDC staff to reach out to St. Pete, Sevier, Wayne, and Grand counties to gauge their desire to have the IDC choose a managing defender, and I suspect compensate a managing defender, and to evaluate whether or not that's feasible plan that would be accepted by each one of the counties that would be part of the regional project. I mean, the concern that I have is like doing this and then having one of these counties say, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to listen to the IDC. I think as a commissioner, I think I'd feel more comfortable in knowing this is a viable plan and it seems to be able to work. And if we have that information, I'm certainly supportive of this. I'm just concerned that if somebody says no, then we're back to the drawing board again. So that's my motion.
So
If I could just chime in, if that's okay. I think that Commissioner Lindsay's motion is a good one, just because we are under a little bit of a time crunch with Johanna stepping down. I mean, she is finishing at the end of the month, and so there are a lot of different parts that we need to start working on to get it in place. And so I would feel more comfortable if we had some kind of provisional agreement from the commission, so that's one less puzzle piece that we need to come back to approve, and that we can just go, I'm thinking of it like a pre-approval for a mortgage or something like that, where we're pre-approved and we can go and do the application rather than vice versa.
So you're, so we would, you're looking for a second to the original motion, which was, I can't even, you said it was Margaret that made it?
Second to Margaret's motion to give permission, essentially, right?
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone not in favor? I think the motion's been approved.
All right, well, thank you. I will start with the county outreach tomorrow, and I will update the commission as things progress. So thank you everyone for your support on these two projects. I think they're going to be really helpful in improving indigent defense in Southern Utah.
Okay, thank you, Matt. The next item on our agenda, contract attorney survey, Leslie.
Yes. So I can take over for this one. Bear with me while I share my screen.
And while you're pulling up your screen, I just want to mention I always appreciate the discussion that happens in this group. Maybe some of you feel the same way I do, but some of the questions that get asked and some of the insights that are given, I would not contemplate for probably without doing a deep dive. So thanks for all of your insight.
Okay, diving in. So just wanted to hop on here and give a little presentation about a survey we recently sent out to the contracted public defenders, just asking about their challenges. We've done similar outreach to defenders in past years, but it had been a couple years, and so we just wanted to check in with everybody and see kind of whether we're approaching the correct topics, whether there's anything we've missed. So, sorry, my little Zoom thing is in the way. This was a very short survey. It had 3 components. One asking about their top challenges, one asking about their interest in full-time employment. That one was specifically geared at, we know that some of the challenges we see in Utah really stem from the fact that these attorneys are part-time contractors. And so when we're thinking about that as a solution, it makes sense to even ask the attorneys, would that be a solution for you, the actual attorney doing the work? And then a third question that was just an open comment. Is there anything else we should know? Anything else you want to let us have some more insight into? So who is this sent to? To give some context, there are somewhere around 300 public defenders in Utah, and that encompasses both employees and contractors. This survey was sent to about 114 contract attorneys. And out of that group, 41 answered the survey. Those attorneys come from a lot of different counties, a pretty wide variety, and they cover all 4 areas of the trial courts. We decided not to ask about appeals just because that's a different area with different needs, and that's a lot of the work that IAD's already doing. So looking into the answers we received, I'm going to start with a pretty nice place to start, which was some of the comments we got, including this one, which was just saying thank you to the IDC for all you do because conditions are much better since you got involved, which was nice to hear. Helps inspire us to continue doing this work. But jumping from that into challenges. So this was a question where it was a list of potential challenges plus an other where they could add other things. And attorneys were able to answer more than one of the selections. So they could have chosen pay is too low and I have too many cases. So out of all the attorneys that answered, almost 60% answered that the pay is too low. And then 37% answered too many cases, 34% answered that there aren't enough resources for investigators or experts, and 32% said that there was a lack of support staff as their biggest challenge, meaning that they don't have the paralegal, they don't have the secretary to aid in their cases. Additionally, 2 attorneys, one each, mentioned that gaps in mentor availability and a lack of public defender community is what they see as a really big challenge in their work. So they don't have people to go to talk about their cases, to learn from, to improve, and that's what they see as their biggest challenge. But finally, about 1 in 5 didn't have any big challenges at all. And that could be a great thing. You know, their problems are mostly solved, their pay is sufficient, their caseloads are okay. But it also could be that they just have gotten used to the situation that they're in, and are no longer seeing it as a problem, even if when we look at the numbers, we would say, oh, that caseload's too high, that pay is too low. We want to try and improve this. Moving on to the second question, interest in working as a full-time employee. I think we were pretty surprised by the answers to this question. Having a full third of the attorneys said they would absolutely be interested in working as a full-time employee. You know, these are people who took contracts. And so I guess our hypothesis going in was, well, maybe they took contracts because they like the benefits you get as a contractor. And so to see that a third of them would say, oh no, I would be super happy being an employee. And then another 20% said that they would be interested, it just would really depend. And so they weren't sure. And for most of those people, it would depend on compensation, which makes sense. But that's just nice to know, you know, that it's, if that was the solution we were to pursue, to actually have people become full-time employed attorneys, that there are plenty of current defenders in the system who would be willing to participate in that. Is reassuring. So finally, looking at other comments, they kind of sat in 4 separate categories. So there's appreciation for recent improvements, which is very similar to that first quote I showed, just that there's always been problems, but recently the improvements made by both the IDC and local counties have really helped improve pay, decrease caseloads. There was also gratitude for the work and for the colleagues. One attorney said, I love the work I do, and I have incredible colleagues, which helps with the challenges of the work. And this is important work, and it's great to see that people like doing it. There also was a lot of praise for Davis County's system in particular. I'm laughing a little bit because the Davis County managing defender really pressured his attorneys to answer this survey, and so there was a lot of bias in this towards some of those attorneys, although they have a lot, so no matter what the survey would have hopefully included a lot of answers from them. But they particularly remarked that if you're going to do this as a contractor, they think the Davis is a great model to follow. And then also talking about their appreciation of treatment courts. So one attorney just talked about how they really felt that having those treatment courts was good for their clients, and they wish that there was more of that, more opportunities for that throughout the state. Then there was the next category, which was concern regarding the court and criminal system processes. We had an attorney say that they think it's too easy for the state to terminate the parental rights of the parents. And another attorney say that it seems like due process is sacrificed for efficiency. They also commented on the difficulty of traveling to various courts. Kind of as Matt was saying in his previous presentation, we have attorneys who have contracts in multiple areas, and if those courts are virtual, that's not too much of a problem, but you still have to go travel to see your clients. And so it just can be hard to piece together if those court dates don't work out, or just factor in really that driving time often. They also mentioned issues with discovery. So with the advent of body cam footage, there are now these massive files that attorneys have to deal with, figure out how to download and maintain. And then they've also had difficulty obtaining those files from law enforcement. And then finally, defense specific concerns. So a lot of attorneys commented that they're concerned about threats to funding in the near future, which is something we've heard from counties as well. They're also concerned over the actual availability of indigent defense resources when needed. So even if a county budget has a line item for defense resources, will those get used up before I need them? Or when I actually ask for that, will it get approved? Will those funds be there when I need them? And then finally, a request to actually reduce caseloads to meet those ABA standards. So that's a big picture of the comments. In conclusion, it was really good to get in touch with attorneys again, understand what those problems, for the most part, they aligned with what we would have guessed, but it's nice to know that we're on the right track and looking into the right solutions and trying to solve the right problems. It's always good to check in and make sure you're solving a problem that actually exists. Do you guys have any questions about any of this?
Leslie, I want to thank you for all that work you've done. And it's good to see that feedback from a lot of these defenders. Before we jump into additional comments, just want to recognize an additional guest in the room with us from ABC 4 News. So, and I don't mean to cut off any comments or any additional questions for Leslie. I may have missed this, Leslie. Please remind me. Over what time period was the survey done?
Just last month. So all of these responses came in within 2 weeks. The attorneys were very prompt, which I appreciated.
Let's say I might have missed this too. Was this solely on the adult criminal, or was there?
Nope. We had answers from district court, justice court, or attorneys that cover district court, justice court, juvenile delinquency, and child welfare. The only thing that was missing was appeals.
We don't have to go over it now, but if there is any specific juvenile delinquency and child welfare comments, or things that you would think would be helpful for those of us in that realm, I would love to hear what you've learned at some point.
Absolutely. I will look into that for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Before we move on to public comment, I just want to acknowledge that our last vote, it was pointed out that we did not have a full quorum. There were only 7 of us when Paul left, right? And so that remedy would be to email other commission members. I'll get with Matt and figure out what role I play in drafting this email and providing that information to the other commission members, and hopefully we can expedite that so we can move forward with that permission to move forward.
Well, and just to clarify, John, I think that with a vote like that, it does need to be a public vote, so we wouldn't be able to do it via email or anything like that. So I think based on the feedback though that we received today, I'll start doing outreach with the counties with the proposal, just knowing that it hasn't been officially voted on by the commission, right? We don't have that grant modification already in place, but there is enough support that that we can start having these conversations with the affected counties and gauging their level of interest and if they're be able to address any concerns that they might have. And so I think we'll handle it that way if that makes sense to everybody. And then when we come back to our December commission meeting, then we can have a formal vote based on what we've been able to learn.
That does make sense, and that'll give everyone else who wasn't here an opportunity to ask questions. And I guess in the meantime, I can come to you and we can determine how much of it needs to be represented. So,
okay.
Next agenda item, we have public comments. Are there members of the public here who would like to make any comments at this time? And I'm trying to swipe over. I'm not seeing any additional individuals. but we'll give it a moment. So looking for members of the public to share any comments that they may have at this time. All right, it doesn't look like we have any additional comments, to be made by the public. If there aren't any other matters, is there a motion to adjourn?
All motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I imagine there isn't anyone who's not in favor at this time. If there is any, please let us know. All right. Our next, do we do a December? Will we be doing a December meeting?
Yeah, we will.
All right. So we will. It looks like we'd be back together on December 18th. Is that right? Wonderful. See you all in a month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.